Welcome back to the Sword and Musket YouTube channel, which discusses weapons collecting and similar subjects. Today we're going to talk about the number 4T rifle, the British answer to the sniping problem in World War II. These were rifles that were selected from standard production as pulling tighter groups at the production stage. They were then put aside and they went through a process ending up at Holland & Holland, famous London gun makers, where they were accurized and had mounts fitted to take the number 32 scopes. As these rifles have become more and more collectible and more popular, the price has risen at an alarming rate. Asking prices now range from £10,000 to £15,000 for complete outfits. What you must do as the buyer is satisfy yourself that everything that you understand about a number 4T is present on the example that you're looking at. Now, this is an example out of my own collection. It was one of the first weapons I bought. What I don't like seeing is people having the wool pulled over their eyes by elaborate stories of prototypes and experimental or trials rifles. Most of those are a load of rubbish. You should be able to find yourself a standard, well-built number 4T from World War II. So, let's look closely at some of these points that I think you should satisfy yourself are correct. Now, this is a BSA built example. Immediately, as you cast your eye over the rifle, you will see a non-brass butt plate and a cheek piece applied to the butt by 2 screws. If we move forward, the next most obvious thing is an absence of the battle sight. That has been machined away because it interferes with the scope, even in the laying down position. Moving forwards, you can see one of the pads there on the other side. Now, pop back here a bit more, and we see a number 24222. That is the scope number. That is the number that should appear on the scope. Also, for very serious and in-depth investigation into this subject, you should see those 2 proof or Enfield inspection marks on the rear of the action. They relate to a specific inspector who was present when these rifles were built. So we have the scope number there, which corresponds with the number upon the number 32 scope. So if I take this one out of its tin, I will show you what I'm talking about. There we have it, number 24222, and then there's a broad arrow afterwards. Let's not worry about the other stuff at the moment, but you can see it's number 32 Mark III, Ordnance Stores number 2039A, B, and on the other side, a big W for waterproofing. Now, there is another number hiding inside the socket of the rifle just forward of that 24222. I'll have to put you down for a second to show you, but it's important that you see this if you're looking for originality within the rifle. I have unscrewed this before the program started, as they used to say on Blue Peter. So, what am I talking about? I am talking about the rifle number 37829. That is the serial number of the rifle, and it should be on the shoulder of the butt, and it is normally concealed. Now, if you're making an expensive purchase, I think it's totally reasonable to ask to see that number. And if the person doesn't want to show it to you, then I would immediately smell a rat. So let's pop that back on so we can continue our discussion. There are many reasons why rifles might not have certain numbers on them, but you once again have got to convince yourself that that is a legitimate reason, and I would have thought the only way of absolutely legitimizing a claim like that is to find it in writing in records to do with these rifles. So there we are, stock nicely secured. If we lift the bolt and pull it back, you'll see that the bolt head is drilled. A very, very small attempt at reducing the weight of the rifle, because these rifles weigh a bit by the time they're fully kitted up. You'll have a forward sling swivel, which allows movement and attachment of the multi-point sling. You also have a very wide, broad rear sling swivel and sling swivel on the mid band. Let's turn it over and have a look at the important bit. Right, going back to the serial number, this being a BSA, it carries the code M47C. See there at the top, M47C, wartime code for manufacturing for BSA. There's the date, 1944. There's the serial number, H37829. That was the number on the shoulder of the butt. So, it's all looking good so far. Now, let's have a look at these pads. These are the mounting pads for the scope. They are sweated, drilled and sweated on, and the screws are staked. You can also see below the middle screw there, the broad arrow, acceptance mark of the War Department. And it is on that one, in between the screw and the hole. If we then move back to the middle of the outer action wall, there is the all-important T that you have to see. Now, in a later video, I'm going to illustrate the exception to the rule, which is one of what we call a T-less T. But I don't want to confuse you even more at this juncture. So let's put the scope on. It's very simple. It simply locks into position two large screws which are knurled on the outside edges, extra purchase. There we have it. Sorry about the shaky camera work. So there it is, mounted on the side of the rifle, and in fact in line over the top of the bore. Now let's look at the mounting bracket, because these have been made in their hundreds as well. You can see a broad arrow. Sorry, no. Scrub that. Anyway, behind that front wheel, number 92. Look at the rough casting and file marks that mount is made of. That's correct. Look at the serial number for the rifle. Once again, H37829. There are 8 slotted screws on top. Important that they're always done up. On the side of the mounts, on the, well, it's actually, you could call it the back side of the mounts, is also another matching number, or a number that must match itself. T679 T680. So that is all correct. There's a leather scope cover. Now, what I would ask you to look for also on the scope is the quality of the paint. It's got to be rough. They were finished, the brass pieces were finished, painted over to avoid glare. And that was a long time ago. Also, I'd ask you to look at the whiteness of the white infills in this lettering. It's creamy. That's the best way to describe it. It's creamy. If it's bright white, it's been redone, or it may not be genuine, because let's remember there are lots of these scopes being manufactured on the market these days. Adjustment must be positive. I haven't shot this one for a long time, so I'd have to re-zero anyway. But there we have it. The initial most important things to look for on a number 4T rifle. Now this one's come with a scope tin. The adjustment tool is absent. Outside it's all written up with the number of the rifle. There's a compass, and as we mentioned earlier, the brass telescope, and there is the label giving you the contents of the box. You'll notice that the inside of the box is painted a horrible, almost like with Rust-Oleum paint. Look at the condition of this stuff. Look at the condition of the handles, screws, a bit of mold on there. These things weren't built to last forever. They were well built, but they weren't built to last forever. And they should look correct, like this one. There's been a bit of movement in the timber. You know, the joint has cracked. That's correct. There's nothing wrong with this one at all. All points to remember when you're trying to buy a full sniper kit. So I hope that's been helpful. Keep your eyes open, be bold, ask those awkward questions, and If the seller seems somewhat reticent to answer or let you examine further, then I would walk away, because it could be a very expensive mistake. Hope that's been helpful. Look out for the tealess tea coming soon. Thanks for visiting by Sword and Musket. Click like or subscribe, or visit the website, which is www.byswordandmusket.co.uk. Always pleased to hear from you. Just a further footnote to the number 4T sniper rifle, which I forgot to mention. Look for the S51 mark on the underneath of the butt, just after the pistol grip. There's that wider sling swivel that I mentioned earlier. There is the Parker Hale type sling swivel. And one other more important marking is this TR marking. It must also have that. That's to do with its accuracy rating. Once again, keep your eyes peeled, because there's lots of not genuine rifles out there. Hope that's been helpful. Last but not least, on the side of the action, just where the bolt closes down, there's an S stamped. That must also be there. Just for your delectation, you can see the other side of the mounting. These are dead smooth. Everything's flush. So don't forget that little S either.